Ende nuk ka asnjë rezultat të paktën publikisht për zbardhjen e rastit të rrjedhjes së dokumenteve dhe dërgimit të tyre në zyrat e Organizatës së Veteranëve të Luftës së UÇK-së. Për shpërndarjen e dokumenteve që zyra e prokurorit të specializuar tha se janë konfidenciale, dy ish-krerët e OVL-UÇK, Hysni Gucati dhe Nasim Haradinaj, u dënuan me burgim nga Gjykata Speciale. Për hetimin e këtij rasti nuk flet kryetaria e kësaj gjykate, Ekaterina Trendafilova, e cila kur pyetet për këtë i referohet vetëm deklaratave publike të prokurorit të specializuar se i njëjti është duke bërë një hetim për këtë, por ende pa ndonjë rezultat. Trendafilova thotë se dhomat e specializuara dhe ZPS janë dy organe të pavarura nga njëra-tjetra dhe nuk pajtohet me deklarimet në Kosovë se kjo gjykatë është një etnike.
First of all, we are not a mono-ethnic court. We are a court we have a mandate that has been decided upon in the international agreement, exchange of letters from 2014. Thereafter, by the constitutional amendment, Article 162 was added to the Kosovo Constitution, explicitly dealing with the setting up of specialist chambers, and also by the law on specialist chambers and specialist prosecutor's office. And we are dealing with crimes committed in the period January 1998, December 2020, 2000, sorry. And here it is second point, the role of the prosecutor, the specialist prosecutor, to decide what investigations he is going to undertake, whom he is going to bring to account. And this is something that is constantly repeated in the media, and I don't see why there is this persistence in promoting the view that the Kosovo Specialist Chambers, we're dealing with individual criminal responsibility for crimes allegedly committed, and our mandate is not related to organizations, to groups, to ethnicities. Last point, we have victims who have applied so far in the proceedings in the 4 cases before the Kosovo Specialist Chambers, and they're of absolutely different ethnicities. There are Albanians, for example, in the case of the specialist prosecutor against Mr. Mustafa, the 8 victims are Kosovo Albanians. Then we have also victims in the case against Mr. Shala. We have in the case against the former president, Mr. Taci, Krasniqi, Selimi, and Veseli. So that is my answer. We are not a mono-ethnic court. I remember what the prosecutor said in a public interview before Kohaditure, that he's conducting an intensive investigation into the person who twice in daylight just threw all these documents to the premises of the Veterans organization, and that he also has been very much considering how this could happen, but there is nothing for the moment as an outcome of his investigations. But I can only refer to what is a public knowledge. So in 2 years, I'm quite positive about the intensive work that has been going on by the judges, by very devoted legal team. During these 2 years, we have one judgment, and this judgment has been issued in less than 3 months, just in 2 months, and the whole of the case before the trial panel 2, took less than 8 months, 7 and several days months. So now, of course, this case is before the appeals panel that I have assigned, and it is my expectation that we might have a final appeal by the end of the year. Then the other case against Mr. Mustafa is also coming to an end by a judgment that we expect from the trial panel. Then tomorrow, the case against Mr. Shala is going to be transmitted to the same trial panel one that is dealing with the case of Mr. Mustafa. This report, that was the report of that was enacted on the 7th of January 2011 by the Parliamentary Assembly of the Council of Europe, is not a legal instrument, it's not a legal tool, it's not part of our legal framework. And as Article 1 of the law, our special law on Specialist Chambers, Specialist Prosecutor's Office states, and as was confirmed by the appeals judgment, thereafter confirmed by the Specialist Chamber of the Constitutional Court, we operate only with regard to crimes that are related to this report. But this is not a report that is confining the activities of the specialist chambers just to what has been reflected. This report was followed by the establishment of the Special Investigative Task Force that conducted its own investigation, and thereafter the Specialist Prosecutor's Office. So the wording was especially chosen in the law, stating that crimes in relation that were committed within this period, 1998-2000, by or against citizens of Kosovo or the former Yugoslav Republic, and that are related to this report. But this is not, we are not confined only to what has been reflected in the report. The expectation following the hearings, following the discussions in the courtroom, also the decisions that are taken and that are public, and the very, very persistent approach to very strict timelines set by the pretrial judge. The expectation is that by the end of this year, latest, very early next year, this case will go to trial. But we also, as you were rightly referring, this case is a very big case, a very voluminous case, not only because of the number of accused persons, but also because during the last hearing, I was impressed by the number of pages that the defense communicated to everyone. It was a public, of course, hearing. I also cannot follow private hearings. That the number of pages of evidence amounts to 1 million. That the prosecutor is, for the moment, considering to bring to the courtroom around 380 witnesses. And the defense, since the disclosure of evidence that the prosecutor intends to use at trial has been disclosed to the defense, and the defense are conducting their own investigation. This is really, really a very big case, and it is not, of course, the reasonable time standard is very important, but at the same time, it is not uncommon that such big cases could take some more time. But my hope is, based on the professional assessment that I have developed throughout the years, that we are going to have very soon trial proceedings in these cases. Due to my other duties, of course, I couldn't follow every single status conference. Of course, when I can afford this, I just watch the hearings in this and in all the other cases. Of course, the issue about you referring to the exculpatory evidence has been raised. And here I would like to make the point about how we, the judges, reflected on exculpatory evidence in the rules of procedure and evidence. If we are to compare, for example, the legal framework on this matter with the ICC, International Criminal Court, at the ICC, the provision about exculpatory evidence is much more lenient about the prosecutor. The prosecutor should disclose exculpatory evidence to the defense as soon as practicable. And when we were drafting the rules of procedure and evidence, and having my experience at the ICC, where the prosecutor could take a lot of advantage of this and extend a lot the wording as soon as practicable, I suggested to my colleagues, and they, without anyone hesitating about the wording that I suggested and was adopted by the judges, the wording of our rule is exculpatory evidence must be disclosed immediately as soon as it is in the custody, control, or knowledge of the prosecutor. So, the pretrial judge also has issued decisions making very, very strong points that the exculpatory evidence, and he set deadlines, should be disclosed. The specialist court is a court of law, and the rule of law in any democratic system dictates that judges and courts are not going to be put under the authority, the influence, the oversight, be it of the executive, be it of the parliament. I will refer to article also with regard to the Kosovo Specialist Chambers, which is, as I said, a court of law. We are performing our duties as provided in the international agreement, the exchange of letters. Thereafter, Article 162 of the Constitution, and of course the Law Specialist Chamber, Specialist Prosecutor's Office, all of these legal documents upon which we perform our duties enacted by the Parliament of Kosovo. In particular, in Article 162, paragraph 10 and paragraph 12, these are important parts of the Constitution of Kosovo. With regard to specialist chambers, it is highlighted that the appointment of judges, the oversight of judges, is regulated by a special law. And this is the Law Specialist Chamber, Specialist Prosecutor's Office.